Fender 60s road-worn Stratocaster in Sunburst, and this is 2017, so it's got the Faro fretboard, and I'm just going to give it a quick shine on the frets, polish the frets up, oil the fretboard before I start the full setup. The first thing I like to use is the Dunlop string cleaner and conditioner on the neck. I just rub that all over, and then I use a brush to clean it off. This kind of gets any ground in dirt on a fretboard, and then oil it afterwards. You can see that fretboard looks nice and clean now. I like to use this fret polish called semi-chrome. If these were a lot dirtier, I might use steel wool or fret erasers as a first way to clean them off before polishing them. These aren't that bad, so you can see how much just the tarnish comes right off with this stuff. So now with the fretboard clean and the frets polished, just oil the neck a little bit. I use lots of different things. Today I'm trying bore oil. You can literally get this stuff from Guitar Center for, I think it was $3. And this stuff works pretty well. Seems to condition fretboard pretty nicely. You know, one thing I do when I'm restringing before a setup is I look at those nut slots, and a lot of times I see how there's kind of like gunk in these, and I know people like to put graphite or other things to try and make the string slide real easy in there, but I've found it seems to me that stuff builds up and gets old sometimes, and it actually impedes string movement. I like to just clean them out, take a piece of sandpaper, fold the sandpaper in half and just clean it out. I feel like as long as you can put the string in that slot and move it back and forth and you don't feel any kind of friction or impedance there, you're good. This is a little trick I like to do just on the high E string. Sometimes it seems like because they're so tiny they slip with these kind of tuners, and so I will put it in that post and only go halfway around, make a loop of it. It takes a little getting used to, but you just go halfway around and then pull it through, and now you start winding around the post. So you go in halfway around and through the middle, and then start doing your winds, and it will never slip if you do that. It's always good to check how deep the nut slots are cut, and the way I do that is I fret on the 3rd fret and then press down on the 1st fret and look at that distance between the top of the fret and the string, and it should be very minimal, and just go across them and make sure they're all about the same depth. The only one on this guitar that might be cut a little shallow is the high E. It's got a little more space between the string and the fret than the other frets do. So I can just touch that up with a nut file. And if you're going to deepen the nut slot a tiny bit, just do it in increments and go real slow, because if you go a little too deep, when you play the string open, it'll be buzzing on the fret there because it won't have enough clearance to just ring true. Just gonna sight down the neck. I'm looking for any relief in the neck. It means the neck looks like it's bending under the string. The string is your straight edge, and you're looking straight down the edge of that neck, and you're looking to see if it's going straight along with the string or perhaps bending under it a little bit. If it's bending way under it in a U shape, then you may want to tighten the truss rod, flatten out the neck. This one looks pretty flat already, so we may just be able to leave it where it is, but we will check the action. String action gauge at the 12th fret, about 050, and then even a little less than that. So probably want to raise the action up a little bit. So we'll raise the action up to where we want it to end up, and then we'll see how it's playing. Just wanted to show the way these saddles are set up, and you see how they're all kind of listing at an angle going down that way. That's not how I like them to end up if possible. I like them to end up in a little bit of a radius. That means like following the curve of the neck. And this is the before. I'll show you the after. I need to raise all these just a tiny bit because I like them to be, strings to be a little higher than where they're at right now. I like to end up right around 0.060. And as you're raising them up, you can just look at the string gauge going across one by one. There, that's how the saddles look now. It's a little more fine tuning, and you can see they kind of conform to a radius going like that. And one thing I like to do, even though I've sighted down the neck, I want to note what the measurement of the neck relief is. So put that capo at the first fret on the 17th, and that's right where the neck meets the body. And then you measure at the 8th fret with a feeler gauge. And I cheated and did this before I started the camera, so I know it is this right here. This measurement is 0.007, and that's not a bad place to be in my book. Some guys like a little more relief or a little less. I like a fairly flat neck, and 0.007 is a good place to be. The neck in a good spot, and you got the action where you want it. I just always make sure I like how it's playing all over the neck. So that includes playing chords and single strings. So you can hear the chords are ringing real nice and true. Nothing sounds choked. Even up high on the neck. And just doing a lot of bends in different places will tell you if any strings are getting choked out somewhere. And as a last step, I'll literally play every note on the neck, just listening for any kind of buzz or anything funny happening on the neck. Might also just take a quick look at the tremolo. Even though I don't do a ton of adjusting to tremolos, I like to just kind of keep them fairly tight and leave them be. If somebody wants to go all funky and let them be up at an angle and floating both ways and everything, they can do that themselves. You can see this has got 5 springs, and it's tightened way down. There's hardly any space here between that claw and the side of the cutout. So I have a feeling, yeah, that thing's just pretty well basically locked down. And I mean, the other thing I like to check for is space in between the body and the tremolo. I like the trem to sit fairly flat against the body. I don't want it up at a great big old angle, so it's just floating there and just has more chance to go out of tune. So if this was locked down by the previous owner, I'll probably just leave it in that spot. And if the new owner wants to loosen these screws and put lessen the tension on the tremolo so they can get all funky with it, that'll be up to them. And of course, you gotta plug in and just check the electronics. Make sure there's no scratchiness with the pots. And if there is, you want to take some contact cleaner and spray them out. I've shown in another video how when I get to this point, if I find that one of these pots need to be sprayed out, I'll take off the screws around the pots and just sneak up and, you know, carefully pull up the pick guard and spray them out that way, so you don't have to take off the entire pick guard and strings and everything just to spray out a pot. Check your jack, make sure it's not noisy. You also want to check that any buzz you hear changes as you move in the room. That way you know you're just getting 60 cycle hum. It's not if it's a constant buzz, then you may have a little electronic buzz issue. But as you can see, as I move, it gets quieter. One thing that's worth showing, if you find one or any of the tuners are a little stiff turning them, this stuff's called liquid bearings, but you can find lots of different stuff to do the same thing. Just give it a little shot of this stuff and then move the tuner back and forth. I can already feel that it's much smoother, and that way they're easier to turn.